Hello, Steelers Nation, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Steel City Insider podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Hritz, alongside publisher of Steel City Insider, Jim Wexell. And today we welcome to the show Nick Farabaugh of Penn Live, a Steelers beat writer, and also Mark Kaboly, longtime Steelers beat writer and correspondent for the Pat McAfee Show. And what perfect timing to have you gentlemen on here, because Aaron Rodgers ends the drama, signs a one-year deal. And Mark, I want to start with you. In looking at this signing, what version of Aaron Rodgers are the Steelers going to get? Is it going to be the MVP version or the Jets version from last year?
Wait a second, am I missing something? They signed Rodgers? Didn't know anything about what? I'll be honest with you, that's the $1 million question, Jeremy. Which one are they going to get? I don't think it really matters right now. Let's go into training camp. Let's go into minicamp here and see what he has left in him. And if it's nothing, we'll probably be able to notice that real quick. Well, you'll be able to notice by a couple throws. You'll be able to notice preseason games if he has something left in him. And that's all you need from right now. I think if you move forward here and give him the opportunity to become that, or at least have a semblance of four-time MVP, Aaron Rodgers is all I'm looking for right now. What type of version you're going to get, who knows? I know he was banged up a lot last year, multiple different injuries, with a seemingly that it was more than the Achilles, so he should be a little bit healthier. He's still got a ton of arm talent. And I know that people complain about this move. They don't need it. But I want to see with my own two eyes what he's going to be able to bring to the table, because I still think there's something left in there. Is it enough to win the division, win a playoff game? That's yet to be determined, but you can't deny the talent. So I think it's a pretty good get for the Steelers here. Let's see what he can do now.
All right. And then, Nick, coming over to you, is this an upgrade over last year's Russell Wilson, Justin Fields combo? And how will this offense be different with Rodgers?
Well, it's a little different, at least. Russ was such a deep ball heavy player. You were basically laden to the sidelines, and you didn't have any middle of the field to work with. Now, Rodgers historically doesn't target the middle of the field as much as most quarterbacks, but he does it more than both of those two. And I think when you're talking about Arthur Smith's system, I think people forget where Arthur Smith's system kind of offshoots from. You remember he was under Matt LaFleur for a long time. Aaron Rodgers played 4 years under Matt LaFleur. So you're going to have a lot of that play action, hit the dig route, hit those middle of the field crossers. Rodgers can do that. We've seen him do that before. These tight ends that the Steelers have, we've heard the rumors, but even just having Pat Frymuth and Darnell Washington, big boon for them, I think. Rodgers likes to get his tight ends involved. So I think we're seeing a little bit of a different, maybe more diversification of the passing game and where it attacks across the field. Are we going to see the deep ball as a big part of it? Probably not. But I think when you talk about DK Metcalf, those slant routes, the dig routes, the stuff that he can turn from 5 to 80-yard touchdowns, Rodgers can hit those routes at a really high level. I do think they probably need a quick separator type, a route runner type. Could Roman Wilson or Calvin Austin be? That's going to be the question. I think that's what they need now more than another big bodied on the outside. It's being more route runner type. But I do think it's a different version of this offense. Is it better? If Rodgers plays like he did, I think the second half of last year, it is. If he plays in totality, it's probably pretty even. But I don't think there's a drastic change in either direction based on the Rodgers we saw last year.
Listening to you, Nick, I'm thinking about DK Metcalf coming in and running slants. I'm so tired of watching Calvin and Roman trying to catch that kind of stuff in 7 shots, Metcalf and with Rodgers. And I thought we'd be talking about the signing of Gabe Davis this afternoon, actually. Wasn't he in the building?
Yeah.
Well, there's a deep threat. Rodgers has the arm. They're going to have the speed deep, and Metcalf for the middle stuff, and Freiermuth for the middle stuff. And they may not have a bell cow running back, but they've got 4 or 5 that are all seem to be very good. I like them. I like the whole deep crop of running backs. And the offensive line is going to be better, so much better than last year. People say they didn't. I just read a story today. How's the line going to get better? They didn't draft anyone. Pay attention out there. This line is going to get better. I think it's exciting. It does seem like people are upset, and that's weird, but I think it's exciting, and I'll be looking forward to watching minicamp for once.
Yeah. And then a question really for all of you is looking at this from the opponent's point of view, from a defensive perspective, how does it change how teams defend the Steelers with Rodgers under center?
I think for first of all, I think they have
Blitz his ass. Right?
Yeah. First of all, I think it opens up a bunch of different possibilities. I think it's going to allow Arthur Smith to do what Arthur Smith was limited to do last year. He had to pull back a little bit and not give his full version of his offense because they were limited offensively with either Russell or Justin or some of the offensive line woes. So I think that helps a ton for teams trying to defend him, because if you're going to take the run away, Aaron Rodgers is 41, been in the league, 20 years. He can make a check real quickly. And trust me, he's going to be allowed to be making checks here and get out of plays and get into plays that be able to take advantage of the defenses that are being faced against him. And one other thing, you even mentioned something like this too, Jim. We would like to talk about something specific about Aaron Rodgers here and what he means to this team. But I think this whole team, entire roster, is better than last year. I think it's a deeper, more solid roster, which should help out more than just Aaron Rodgers being inserted in there. I think they are pretty. If they were able to keep George Pickens, I would really like their chances right now. Not quite sure about that QB number 2, but I think Arthur Smith is probably grinning right now because it opens up just about everything for him.
You mean WR number 2?
Yes.
Do you really care about QB2 right now?
I say QB2. I'm just thinking of Mason.
Okay. All right, I'm just checking.
I feel real bad for Mason now, right? You think he was going to get screwed again, and whoop, there we go.
Hey, it's a long season, and Rodgers is an old man. Mason will get his big games, his big moments.
Yeah, you're walking into a room with a 40-plus-year-old quarterback who dealt with injuries last year. He's one injury away from being the guy again. So Mason's in a good spot. I do think Rodgers changes a little bit of the calculus of how you defend this team. Listen, teams that were really successful against him last year, they tried to play a lot of man coverage, and obviously it didn't necessarily work because they had Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, who were just man coverage eaters. I do think that's the one thing the Steelers need to do here. They need to find another receiver. It's fairly clear to me. I think the receiver room is better this year because I think Metcalf better than Pickens, Woods better than Jefferson, Austin Wilson gives you a deeper group, but I do think they need one more guy. And I would like to see someone like a Keenan Allen or something come in here and be a man coverage beater for them. I do think Rodgers, though, opens up the middle of the field more. So I think what you're going to see probably more is a lot more of those single high safety stuff that you saw last year, probably still. So you're going to have to probably run the ball, trying to force them out of that. They're not going to play a ton of too high against this team because the Steelers, I think, are going to be able to run the ball, force you out of too high. They're going to roll that safety down for the blitzes plus stopping the run. So there's going to be a few different ways I think these teams are going to try and get in there to slow down the Steelers offense. I think one more weapon, one more receiver gives them a really formidable group. And as Jim said, I think this O-line has a chance to be much better. Valtanu's back in his one game last year, very promising. Frazier, I think, was a top 5 center in football last year. McCormick was very promising. I think Jones is probably the biggest question, but Ciamalo, you really don't have a question about a left guard either. So this should be this better offense probably, honestly. It's a better fit group. It's a better fit together group. The complements of the skill sets fit together. They just need another weapon. And I think then you can see that you can talk yourself into this being a legitimately solid offense.
So what do you think of Gabe Davis, Nick? The fact that we're not talking about him, does that mean that he left the building today without signing and won't sign?
That's what I'd heard, that he wasn't signing today. I think he came in I think he came largely to help check out that knee, that left knee, which has just been a scourge for him the past year. Sprained PCL in January 2024, torn meniscus last year, surgery. Already visited 2 teams, didn't sign with them. The thing with Davis compared to Allen or Cooper or a trade is you don't have to spend basically anything. He's probably going to play on the vet min this year because he's getting paid $11 million from Jacksonville. So it's basically a Russell Wilson situation, right, essentially. So that's the thing. I'm not a massive Gabe Davis fan, but I understand what he does well, fits what they do well. He blocks. He's a big body, deep threat. He's not a great contested catch player, so just because he's a big guy, don't think he's going to go up and make those contested catches. he's going to be more of a runaway downfield threat than a contested catch downfield threat. Similar to DK. DK's not much of a contested catch guy, but he's a better contested catch guy than Gabe Davis. He's not a quick route runner type that separates. I think that's what they would need personally. There's not really many of those available, of course, but I do think that Gabe Davis at least fits into the outside archetype they like. And I'll say this, his love for the game routes, as I like to call them, the clear outs that he runs, full 100%, DK will have the underneath to work with because those safeties and corners will be chasing Gabe Davis 50 yards down the football field.
Dave Davis. I just read Dave Davis' biography, the guitar player for the Kinks. You met Gabe, right?
Yeah, I did. I did, yeah.
Nick, I wanted to ask you before Mark jumps in. You came into the cafeteria and you told a friend that 21, I could never say his name, 21 made a great catch. Was it a better catch than the catch Robert Woods made today at the pylon?
Oh, yeah. That was a nice toe tap grab by Bobby Trees. I think it was. And I did talk to Montana Lamonius Craig. What a name. If you know that Key and Peele sketch, it sounds like it's out of that. I think it's hilarious. But yeah, he talked about that today with me and basically broke it down. I think Will Howard said it was a hell of a play. He basically threw it on a go route and it was towards the back pylon. He dove out full extension, got it in and toe tapped the 2 feet. It was a really impressive catch that even some of the coaches had to commend him on the defensive side. So probably a better catch, but Bobby Trees had a really nice day, a really solid day. I think he caught 2 or 3 touchdowns, he said. So he was all over the place today. And that's the security blanket. He'll be your third down security blanket where you need 3rd and 7, you need that tough grab over the middle of the field. He does it. He's got great hands. So Robert Woods is that dirty work guy. I think he describes himself as grimy. I think that's what he said. I like that word for Robert Woods.
I think that's a Zach Azani word, to be honest with you. I think that's how he describes a lot of his wide receiver crews right there.
Didn't one of the receivers yesterday call Azani the king of grime or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. He was explaining that to me today of what it all meant, and it went over my head. So I was just like looking somewhere else. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds pretty interesting. But he's into that dirty work. He has a couple of guys who can be able to do that. By the way, you need to have a hyphenated name for your Montana guy. Just remember the Mercyhurst hyphenated guy, Jim, from a couple of years ago. Tomlin always called him the running back.
Not really.
I forget his name. He always called him hyphenated Mercyhurst or something like
Well,
that.
who's the guy with 2 first names and a hyphenated last name? The tight end.
Oh, DJ Thomas Jones.
How do you keep all that straight, Nick? You got a young
20.
mind.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
20.
I do. I keep crazy information in my head. I could probably name you 2021 guys crazy back. I think Pete Guerrero and Tony Brooks James. I think
that's the one I'm talking about.
Tony Brooks James. It is the Orphan Kid.
No, maybe it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Hey, but do you know who Rich Ehrenberg is?
I don't. You got me on that one.
I'm going to tell you all about Rich Ehrenberg one day, Nick.
Okay.
He's from Colgate. And then there's a Colgate kid in minicamp here.
Yeah,
Rudy. I asked him if it's okay if I call him Rudy, and he's not really. But he heard of Rich Ehrenberg because he went to Colgate. And Rich Ehrenberg was back in the 80s, about the same size as Max.
Hurlman.
What's his last name, Nick?
Max Hurleman.
Hurlman. I talked to him. I don't know whether to call him Max or Rudy, but he's heard of Ehrenberg. Yeah.
Yeah. So exciting news. And Rodgers will be at the mandatory minicamp next week, which is going to start on Tuesday. But before we get to minicamp, let's talk about OTAs. Those are wrapped up, and standouts, players that jumped out to you. I know we've hit on some of that here at the start. But Mark, let's go to you. Any sleepers or standouts? I know it's tough to tell.
Sleepers. But I could tell you one guy that is grabbing everybody's attention would be Roman Wilson. The guy is just a totally different human than he was last year at this time. He's actually lost a couple of pounds, but it's hard to tell because he's pretty much chiseled in shape compared to last year because all the weight he had to put on leading up to the combine. And if he even a fraction of what he's shown over these 3 weeks, the Steelers might have something here. At least a guy who you can at least trot out there on 3rd downs. So he's a guy that's really, I mean, you didn't know what you're going to get from him. We saw flashes of him last year during training camp and even when he was coming back, but they really need him to be able to step up Calvin Austin's another one. I think he just continues to get better and better. I'm not going deep down the roster here and grabbing people that like the hyphenated Montana guy or anything. But I'm talking about the guys that might be on that 53-man roster. A guy like Darnell Washington jumps out at me. I would have said a guy like DeMarvin Leal jumped out at me, but he hasn't been around for about a week and a half now, so I'm not quite sure what happened to him right there. But Peyton Wilson, another guy, the guys are going to contribute a lot. You can see them taking that second and in some cases third-year jumps, and just by their physique, their mentality, and how they approach the game. That's what I look at OTAs, and there's a couple of guys that really stood out. Even a guy like Mason McCormick. It's a guy like Zach Frazier, who's taken a leadership role, which is strange to me because the guy didn't say 2 words. But this Zach Frazier is a guy that we can look back on in the decade and say, he's up there with some of the best of all time. He could be an 8, 9, 10-year Pro Bowl type of guy. That's how good he's going to be, and that's how good he has been.
Wow. The end of the roster, I don't really have a sleeper, but the end of the roster is going to be the tough competition all over. Now look at the defensive line. Yeah. The guy from New England, it doesn't look bad. It's hard to say a guy, defensive lineman.
His name is?
What?
Nick, his name is?
Daniel.
I have no idea. I'm going to defer to Nick. That's why I have Nick on the show today. 96. I know his number. Logan Lee. Those guys at the bottom, there are going to be tough fights. And the running back competition. Evan Hull. I don't want to cut Evan Hull. And they're all starting at number 4. Every running back, a viable running back they bring in is in line to be cut. Man, I think it's going to be a deep roster. Yeah.
It is. Okay, I'll give you 2 sleepers then. I'll give you the lower.
Yeah, give me one
guys.
for me. Yeah.
I'll give
Let
you
me
one.
grab the roster first.
I do think we talked about him a little bit earlier. DJ Thomas Jones. I am really interested in him. Can play fullback, can play wing, can play tight end. He's come a long way more as a receiver than I thought he would be. I thought he'd be like, we watched the tape at South Alabama. He's just a really good inline blocker. He's made some plays since Donald Parham went down. He's made some plays up the seam, made some nice plays on corner routes. There's something there. I think he has a chance to make this team. He really does. They gave him a big bonus as a UDFA too. So something to watch there. If you're looking at the tea leaves, sometimes these UDFA roster bonuses can matter as long as the player plays well. And the other guy I wanted to point out that I thought played really well was Brandon Eccles. They signed him from New York. He's had a nice week. He's played a lot more of the first team stuff with Darius Slay out this week and not being around. He made a pick today. He has made some PBUs that I saw. He's done a nice job. So Brandon Eccles, I think, has secured the top backup spot, I would say. Corey Trice has not had a bad week. I love, and then we're going back into the 53-man roster here. Caleb Johnson just impresses me so much. Jim, you talk about that running back room. Caleb Johnson's detail-oriented nature and his meticulous work on pass pro has been so impressive. You want to talk about a guy just ruthlessly attacking something he knows is a weakness? That's the guy that did that. Yeah. He was telling me yesterday on Wednesday, there was a part in individual drills where there was 5 minutes left and they were doing a pass pro gauntlet basically. And he had to do 2, they threw the medicine balls at him and he had to get 2 reps in a row where he was doing everything perfectly. And Eddie Faulkner said, we're not leaving until you do this. It doesn't matter if the team drills go on. I'm staying over here with you. And he finally did do that. But Jalen Warren, Jonathan Ward, Trey Sermon, those guys are helping him out. I'm super, super impressed by Caleb Johnson and just how he brings his mentality to the table. And then the last guy I thought that was really good, you'd mentioned Roman Wilson, Mark. I think he's had a really nice week. He's gotten so much sharper in terms of the route running parts of his game. That's been really impressive, I think. But the one guy that sticks out to me every time I watch him, even though they're not in pads, is Troy Fautanu. You want to talk about a guy that at best shape of your life season, this guy looks like he's in the best shape of his life after that knee injury. He looks like he was fueled in the lab, getting ready. He looks super athletic. He looks lean. There's no bad weight on his frame whatsoever. He looks great moving in zone drills. I remember there was one play yesterday they threw, and he had to just go in space, and he was like running in front of the tight ends, and it was just insane. I was like, this guy's an unbelievable athlete. I think he's going to be so good for them. So those are some of the guys that stuck out to me, at least.
Let me comment on a lot of that, Nick. Good stuff. I think I saw that play we were talking about, and I'd like to go on more about that play where they were all out in front of the tight ends, and the tight ends were massive, and they were hunting out there too. Brandon Johnson, I think, is another nice sleeper. And we all know about 11 from last year. He was a good practice squad player last year, receiver. You mentioned 48, the tight end with the 4 names.
Yep.
He's number
DJ Thomas
48.
Jones. Yes, sir.
87 looks good. The other tight end, the other undrafted tight end, and you could fill us in on his name too. 87, making a lot of great catches. He's not the fullback body that 48 is,
No.
but I do 87's making a lot of nice catches.
He's the receiver body. JJ Galbraith. Yeah, interesting
Yeah.
player. He's tough as nails. He played through a broken arm last year too. He's tough as nails. You see that.
Yeah. And who was the other sleeper you had, the first one?
I had DJ Thomas Jones in there as well.
Yeah. And who was the next one?
Brandon Eccles, who's going to make the roster.
Oh, yeah. Eccles told me he's going to be moving inside soon and work on, he's going to compete for the nickel spot, which it doesn't seem like there's any room for that. You watch Beanie getting picked on every now and then, and you say they still need help there. And I like Kent as a longtime prospect down the road. I don't know that he's going to be ready this year, but so it might be Eccles inside eventually.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good observation. Kent, by the way, not a guy I mentioned, but I probably should have. Few PBUs this week. He's had a nice week. Kent's probably, in terms of the ball production part of things, I think he had a forced fumble in one of the team drills too today. He's looked solid. Dante Kent, somebody to watch.
He's not overwhelmed by any of this.
Nope.
He looks like he belongs. Yeah.
He does. He does. That could be a really good pick in the 7th round for them.
And a name that's come up on the show the past couple of weeks has been Sebastian Castro. Anything stand out this week with him?
He told me he's playing just safety, not slot, which was interesting. People were throwing him in that slot competition. The Steelers seem to view him as a free and a strong safety. He's played both, it seems, for them so far. I haven't really seen a ton. You don't really see a ton from the safeties generally here. You see a lot of checkdowns in the spring. Not a lot of guys pushing the ball on the field, but I can't say I've seen Castro in a bad way. That's a good start.
Castro did a lot of dime backer at rookie camp too, so that might be their other position for him. It might not be the slot at all.
Yeah, that seems about right.
All right. So,
Mark, what do you got for us, man?
Well,
Don't be shy.
I'm always shy, man. I don't want to talk about Sebastian Castro.
We should add, you look like you're promoting TJ Watt's contract. You want that to be the next story tomorrow, huh?
Yeah, move on for one. Another guy, though, once again, is obvious, but I think Will Howard has progressively gotten better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As weeks has went on. I know, but my God, is he impressive? Forget about his arm and just how he comports himself. You could tell why Ohio State was so talented, were able to win that national championship last year. When Will Howard talks, you can understand why people were listening to him. I would find it hard to believe that anybody does not like Will Howard personally.
He looks like Richie Cunningham when you're talking to him, and then he drops an F-bomb, and you're like, cool, Richie
I
Cunningham.
did have the old alfalfa look today. I was like, might want to comb that over a little bit. The process, it's going to be a process. If he doesn't play this year, I don't think anybody should really care. But I think he has a potential to be a long-term backup in his career, and I think that's fine.
It looks like they want him to be a running physical quarterback. If not this year, at least add it to his game down the road. But hell, he could be their 2-point physical running back guy this year. Short yardage or something.
The tush push guy, huh?
Hey, that's a good idea. There you go.
Yeah, put him there. Yeah, they did. He told us today that they put him on a read option in 7 shots. So they seem to be experimenting with it a little bit.
And he was coming right at me at the corner. He looked fearsome. He didn't look like Opie. You guys know the Richie Cunningham reference, right? I'm not.
I do. I don't know about Nick.
I don't, but it's all good.
Happy Days. It was a show that Rich Ehrenberg used to watch a lot.
all right. So as we get ready for mandatory minicamp next week, anything you guys are looking forward to in particular?
Yeah, when it's all ending and we could take about 5 or 6 weeks off.
Right. We don't have to stand out on Water Street and look for Aaron Rodgers anymore.
You darn people are going to be there on Friday. The great Ed Thompson's going to be up, like hiding underneath the sidewalk or something, trying to get a picture of him coming in to sign his contract.
That's why we're doing the podcast. So none of us have to go and do anything because we're already ahead of it. Put a wrap on this. I know you guys are going to have to do your own podcasts for your own sites now, but if you need any help, call me and Jeremy. But thank you for helping us with this one. Just put Aaron Rodgers on the top of it and we're done for tomorrow morning.
I just find it funny that people thought that this might not happen. Man, this was always the plan. And if you didn't know that, I can't help you. This was the plan from day one. And if the Steelers wanted to paint it one way or another, they knew what plan it was when he was coming in and what was happening here.
I didn't think he would be in for minicamp. I thought that's what the whole wait was for, so he wouldn't have to go to mandatory minicamp.
He just comes in, gets the book, says hi to Arthur Smith, eats some of Kevin's cafeteria food, and on his way for the next 6 weeks, right? Sounds good to me.
To what ayahuasca retreat, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. I know what, Jim, I think you probably should try to do a darkness retreat with him. What do you think?
Man, I don't know. Nick's younger. I'm on a darkness retreat. Look behind me.
What did Cam Hayward say? I ain't doing that crap. Yeah, that's about right. I'm not. No darkness retreats for me. What, you're gonna find me in? You know what, Kaboly? Maybe in early July you'll find me with him in the jungles of Peru or something. I don't know.
Oh, you know what? Jim, you could invite him to the old lake at Latrobe at night.
The lake in Latrobe?
Whatever. You and Chaz used to head down there and take
the duck pond. Duck pond. Now that's a good idea, Mark. I'll have to talk to Chaz.
I don't know, Chaz. I don't know the political views actually line up with Chaz.
Oh, yeah. Those two might not get along. That's right.
Where's Aaron Rodgers at? He's down the duck pond.
Hey, if we're going by political views, I'll tell you what. Aaron Rodgers is going to love Ben Skoranek.
I love Ben Skoranek.
Oh, Ben Skoranek. I haven't talked to Ben about his political views, but his spot might be in jeopardy now if they go get that number 2 receiver.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't think it's Gabe Davis, by the way. I think that, honestly, I was under the impression that they just did it out of kindness of their heart to said Gabe Davis come in for a visit. I don't know if they were ever really interested in him.
Hey, Keenan Allen, that gets me fired up. Nick's talking about Keenan Allen. I'll do that.
Rock runner, baby. You talk about a first down machine.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's what you need. He's the guy. I know people will say, oh, but he plays the slot, and Calvin and Roman do. You can split it up in enough ways to mitigate those issues. You play with the condensed sets. I get it. But they need a chain mover, and they need talent. That's what they need. They just need talent in that room at this point in this year. Keenan Allen's the type of player. Even if he's not what he was at his height, he is the type of player. I don't think people realize he still put up like 770 yards last year and 8 touchdowns. Like, he still had a pretty good year as their wide receiver too in Chicago. Because Roma Dunze didn't come on as quickly as they thought he would. And so Allen was fine last year in Chicago. He's still a player. He could still play.
Yeah. One question has been answered, and the next one is served up, and that is who this receiver will be that the team will bring on. But, gentlemen, anything to add before we wrap up?
Ooh, Steelers are going to go 11-6. What do you think? They're 11-6 team now? I think I might make that prediction. 11-6, maybe not quite division championship, but I think that Aaron Rodgers gives them a legit opportunity to not only make the playoffs now, but obviously I think they can win a playoff game now. A lot has to happen correctly now, but I think they're in a much better shape they are now than they were maybe 12 hours ago.
I think this is the best quarterback they could have gotten out of what was a crappy class, a draft class. There really wasn't much there. Even their own guys they weren't all that excited about Justin Fields, even though he was the guy they kind of targeted. Mason might be the number 2 guy who was out there. I don't know that I'd want Sam Darnold, or I sure didn't want Kirk Cousins. And I had him 11-6 without being sure Rodgers was going to sign. So I don't know. I like the schedule. I bet the over. I had him over 8.5, and now I'm happy that Rodgers is going to sign.
My predictions probably ends what it's been with Rodgers signing. Probably would have been the same with Fields, Wilson, maybe a little worse, but I think they're going to go 10-7 and probably lose in the wild card round. I think it's very good. I think it's going to be a very similar story to what we've seen. It's just I don't think he's what he was. I don't think we're getting 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers. We might be getting a solid group here when we're looking at what he can do. I'm not sure that it's a playoff win though. They'd have to get the right matchup there. The AFC is just so good, and you face these insane quarterbacks, right? You got to defeat Josh Allen, then Patrick Mahomes, then Lamar Jackson or whatever, and it just is insane. And so could the Steelers pull out a game? Sure, but my guess is they make the playoffs, probably lose in the wild card again. But could be good if they see their young guys progress anyways. So we'll see.
All right. So
They may have the defense. They may have the defense now for those crazy quarterbacks. Their secondary, as long as Slay holds up, and I think Gerald Alexander is going to be a big plus as a defensive backs coach. And their inside linebacker situation's much better. It's like the offensive line. Didn't really add much, but the maturity was needed. A year together, and now it should be much better. And the defensive line, I don't know. I like the defense, and I think maybe Rodgers can win a playoff game. And maybe it took him half a year to get rolling last year. Maybe he gets rolling by playoff time and gets hot for the end of his career. Who knows?
Yeah. Great stuff, gentlemen. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, guys, thanks.
We link all your work in the show notes, and we want to thank everybody for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so, and we'll see you back here for another episode of the Still City Insider Podcast. Gentlemen, have a great week.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, everyone.